I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Andrew Warren, the former state attorney from Hillsborough County, which includes the Tampa region in Florida, concluded the federal trial that he brought on First Amendment grounds against Governor Ron DeSantis and the state of Florida for suspending him. He was elected by his constituents twice to represent Hillsborough as their main prosecutor, as their state attorney, and DeSantis suspended him for being, quote, too woke. And the portion of the Florida Constitution that DeSantis invoked is Article 4, Section 7, which states that individuals and prosecutors can be suspended by the governor if they engage in incompetence or neglect of duty. And in August, DeSantis invoked those provisions to suspend Andrew Warren, again, twice elected in Hillsborough County, because DeSantis said Warren was too woke. And specifically, what DeSantis referenced was the fact that Andrew Warren had signed two pledges, not in his official capacity, but just exercising his First Amendment rights. And Warren said that he would exercise prosecutorial discretion so as not to prosecute the state's efforts to criminalize abortion care or to criminalize gender-affirming care. Now, Florida didn't even have any laws on the books and still doesn't have any laws today criminalizing gender-affirming care. But with respect to criminalizing abortion care, after Roe v. Wade was overturned in Dobbs, DeSantis and the Florida legislatures 15-week abortion ban took effect, and shortly after the Dobbs decision issued, Andrew Warren and a number of other prosecutors across the country signed on to that pledge, again, in their personal capacities, saying, though, that as prosecutors, they would exercise prosecutorial discretion not to prosecute those types of crimes. Not to prosecute crimes trying to criminalize abortion care, and not to prosecute crimes criminalizing gender-affirming care, and two separate statements that Andrew Warren signed on to. So a trial took place because Andrew Warren brought a federal lawsuit against the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis refused to show up. He had the opportunity to defend himself, but DeSantis refused to show up, which is not going to be helpful for DeSantis to defend himself, that he was too cowardly. I just want to point that out. For all of his bluster and bravado, he would have been the main witness in the case, and he just said that he's not going to show up, and because he's not going to show up, arguably, even though it's not a formal adverse inference can be made against him, I think the judge can try to say, well, you didn't put forward DeSantis, who was the one who was putting out statements that he fired Andrew Warren because Warren was too woke. But one of the more fascinating things that took place in the trial did not take place before a jury, so it was called a bench trial, where it was just in front of the judge in the Northern District Federal Court, Judge Robert Hinkle. Was cross-examination, though, of DeSantis's deputies and general counsel, because, again, DeSantis was too scared to show up, where they were asked what woke means, because DeSantis states that Florida is a place where woke goes to die, and that he was firing Andrew Warren or suspending Warren because Warren was a woke prosecutor. DeSantis's top deputies were asked, so tell me, what does woke mean? And so this is what their responses were during the federal trial. Taryn Fenske, who's DeSantis's communications director, testified that woke was, quote, a slang term for activism, progressive activism, and a general belief in systemic injustices in the country. It's the direct testimony of Taryn Fenske. Ryan Newman, who is DeSantis's general counsel, testified, quote, to me, it means someone who believes that there are systemic injustices in the criminal justice system, and on that basis, they can decline to fully enforce and uphold the law. And that he said further that woke generally means, though, quote, it would be the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. So here we have in a federal trial brought by Andrew Warren for being wrongfully suspended for his invoking of his First Amendment rights to say that he does not believe, as a prosecutor, he should prosecute where he should exercise his prosecutorial discretion, and he should not prosecute where the state tries to criminalize abortion care and gender-affirming care. In that trial, where DeSantis says he's firing Warren because he's too woke, DeSantis's top deputies say that woke is the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. That is what DeSantis means when he says that Florida is where woke goes to die, that woke being the belief that we need to address systemic injustices. It is right there in clear black and white testimony that took place during the federal trial. We don't know what the outcome is going to be of the trial. We expect Judge Robert Hinkle, the federal judge, to issue his order in the next few weeks. He said that he expects it to be issued in 2 weeks, but his statements seem to be very critical of DeSantis and the way this was handled by the DeSantis administration. This is a direct quote from Judge Hinkle during the trial. Hinkle explained, "This whole thing is chock full of animus towards reform-minded prosecutors. Florida law does not allow a governor to remove a state attorney because the governor disagrees with a state attorney's general approach." A very powerful statement from Judge Hinkle there, which leads me again to believe that Judge Hinkle will find in favor of Andrew Warren. Again, Andrew Warren is not like an employee who DeSantis hired. We have a situation here where Andrew Warren was elected by his constituents, and invoking that Article 4, Section 7 of the Florida Constitution, because DeSantis believed Warren was too woke for Florida, he suspended someone who was elected by his constituents. And here's something that Hinkle said when he was talking to DeSantis, his attorney. He goes, "One possible reading of the facts that are before me was that DeSantis was genuinely opposed to lenient, liberal-minded prosecutors. And for DeSantis, quote, it would be good politics to take one down. So he finds one in Andrew Warren, and he conducts a very one-sided inquiry. And then he finds this statement that Andrew Warren put out about not wanting to prosecute the criminalization of abortion care, and says, aha, we got him right here." And Hinkle says that seems to be what is taking place. What the judge was also very critical of as well is you have someone here whose job has been taken away. This is what the judge said. He goes, "You don't understand. Andrew Warren is not getting paid. They've taken his job," speaking to DeSantis's lawyers. "Didn't you think that DeSantis owed Warren just some modicum of due process, any due process, before you suspended him for months? How about just picking up the phone and calling him?" Which didn't take place. Again, more words, powerful words from Judge Robert Hinkle speaking during this trial. So ultimately, we will find out the results in the next 2 weeks. DeSantis doesn't show. Andrew Warren's there defending himself. And I think here's an important point as well. There was never, other than signing the statement that he would want to exercise his prosecutorial discretion not to prosecute when the state criminalizes abortion care or criminalizes gender-affirming care, he never actually had a situation where he exercised that prosecutorial discretion. So there wasn't a situation where he engaged in a dereliction of duty or neglect of duty in failing to carry out. And prosecutors can exercise prosecutorial discretion. He's elected by his voters, not DeSantis. So a powerful case, an important case. Glad that Andrew Warren is continuing to fight this. Trial has concluded. We will ultimately get a verdict soon from Judge Hinkle. One thing to also mention parenthetically here is that DeSantis also implemented what was called the Stop Woke Act. And a number of free speech groups and others filed an injunction to the Stop Woke Act, which would allow people to bring lawsuits against college professors and teachers for teaching things that also were defined as being too woke, teaching the truth, for example, about our nation's history and just trying to educate people about those things, where they can get sued for serious damages. In a 138-page order, a different judge from the Northern District of Florida, same district, but a judge by the name of Mark Walker, granted an injunction, which is blocking the Stop the Woke Act in very strong language there as well. Federal Judge Walker talked about, he compared how dystopian you had a situation here with DeSantis passing the Stop Woke Act. And this is what he said, comparing it to 1984. He said how positively dystopian it is for having policies restricting how lessons of race and gender can be taught in colleges and universities. And one of the opening paragraphs of the order, quote, "It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13, and the powers in charge of Florida's public university system have declared the state has unfettered authority to muzzle its professors in the name of freedom." That's what Federal Judge Walker wrote, comparing what was taking place in Florida to 1984. So the Stop Woke Act has been enjoined or blocked as well for being positively dystopian and violating free speech there. So all of DeSantis, a lot of these performative fascist-like policies of DeSantis, fortunately, have been blocked. DeSantis and the Florida legislature has backpedaled on their retaliation against Disney. And so, that's the thing with DeSantis. It's all performative. It was all to kind of rile up the base for the election, but not actually focusing on the real issues that matter to people, distracting them with these culture war issues that violate our Constitution. Keep you posted on the outcome of the Andrew Warren federal trial. Should have a verdict in the next 2 weeks. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers, thanks to your support. And in addition, please check us out at Patreon. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Consider becoming a patron. It's a member of the MeidasTouch community where you get exclusive content, but most importantly, help grow this independent media platform. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas. Make sure to subscribe.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, "It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser," at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.